Hey y'all, we are back with another dense update. This update is sponsored by Biomax Peptides. Here we go. You're going to have to excuse my voice. A little raspy today. Wow, there has been a lot going on lately. I think one of the biggest things that I'm seeing in questions is there beef going on right now in the media? We're going to get to that. But first, Jason Hopper responds to questions about his sexuality.
The most assumed thing about me was about my sexuality. And before I could be this vulnerable with y'all, you must be subscribed to the YouTube channel because I'm about to bare my soul.
Austin Hatfield and Dallin Pepper go back and forth in the comments section, talking smack to each other. Dave Castro announced that he will be doing the open workout announcements. He's definitely doing number 1. I would think number 3 in Miami. Not sure if he's going to fly all the way to Portugal for the second one, but to be determined. CrossFit also announced the head-to-head between Ariel Lowen and Danielle Brandon at 26.3 live in Miami. They're both really good handstand walkers, so I'm getting the feeling we might see some handstand walking come back to the open. And speaking of Danielle Brandon, for the first time in almost a year, she returns to the live podcast space. She went on the Be Friendly channel with Patrick Clark and In and Out Brian Friend. I actually watched this live. There were about 20 people watching it, I think.
Danielle Brandon was on fucking Brian Friend's podcast yesterday. I guarantee you if she comes on this show, it gets fucking 10,000 fucking views. They had fucking 200 live fucking, or 200 views 5 hours after it was fucking posted.
It was kind of basic, if I'm being honest. Nothing really controversial in there. They do ask her about her relationship. She doesn't talk anything about Austin. She does talk about her reasons for not doing the World Fitness Project season this year. Patrick kind of hanging on for dear life to figure out questions to ask every time that Brian has to leave the show because of his internet. But anyway, it's currently sitting at almost, I think, 1,500 views. So if you haven't seen it, that's on the Be Friendly channel. I also put out a video with Marco Coppola, he 3-time team games captain. We talked a little bit about the Mason video. People in the space who, haven't made it past quarterfinals can make videos about their opinions of the CrossFit Games and the Open. But if you want an actual games athlete's perspective, who's been doing CrossFit for 16 years now, he's competed individually at regionals, on a games team when it was 6-person teams, when it was 4-person teams. His team competed at 2024 on Lake Day. He's got a lot of perspective to offer in and around the CrossFit space. He almost beat Rich Froning one time in the CrossFit Liftoff. If you want to check that video out, that is over on Marco Coppola's YouTube channel. Hiller also bringing JY and Brian Friend together, and openly just, a week ago, JY had said, no, I don't want anything to ever do with Brian.
I have no desire to work with Brian in any scenario.
Come on. Play nice with others.
No, I don't. Not with that dude. But I don't really want anything to do with him.
I just didn't know if you were going to.
But then after some conversation with Hiller, he convinced him to fly out there and sit down and do the 100 rank of the men and the women. They've only put out the women video thus far.
100 athletes.
So I side with Clydesdale. I don't think there's a point to it.
Interesting. Okay,
I think
but we're here and you did it.
Yeah. No, I did it because I have to prove superiority. It is what it is. It is what it is. I got called out, so I'm answering the call.
I kind of lean towards the same as Scott, where after the first 50 or so, I'm kind of like, I don't really care. One thing I thought was interesting was that JY insisted on having the laptop there, and you could actually see the laptop in the shot a few times, and you could see that he was using Apollo Performance website and maybe like a Google spreadsheet to keep his thoughts together and be able to speak about the athletes and their stats and stuff like that, which, I mean, any one of us can do that. And then there was some confusion as far as how they were ranking people for 2026 because JY had Tia at the top, but Tia is not competing this year. She's pregnant. There could be a possibility she could compete at Rogue in November, maybe. To have her at the top in a year that she's not competing, I thought was strange. And then they made some sort of bet. JY was like, let's start a poll. If people think mine's better than yours, I'll run a marathon or something. And then if he wins, Brian will sign up for the Open. No one's watching JY run a marathon. No one cares if Brian places 10,000th in the Open. And Brian did say he can't sign up for the Open this year, likely because of his contract to work for the WFP. Their analysis on the athletes is not going to change my personal decision on how I would rank people. I'm not looking to them for how I'm going to rank people in the Heat 1 app. So yeah, the guys talk about this on the Games Update show.
What's up with John Young and Brian Friend being friends again on the Hiller channel?
Oh, did you see it? They seem pretty argumentative.
I think John's been getting into whatever Brian is into with his bag of tricks. I think it's lured John in, unfortunately. I think he's lost his way with Christ. And
really?
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't think you saw it because John was he was did you watch it, Sean? Have you seen it?
Yeah, John didn't even seem like he wanted to be there.
Yeah, he was aggressive. He was aggressive towards Brian. He was aggressive.
Yikes, dude.
I think that aggression is just a sexual tension.
On that same Games Update show, they had a new face, Coach Sean Mack. I was actually watching that show, and there were some idiots in the comment section like, talk more, say more, do this, do that. Some people don't speak unless spoken to, and it also would have been wildly out of turn for him to just insert himself at the times that these people were saying that. Sevan had interviewed Kevin Ogar at one point, and they addressed the adaptive athlete who supposedly had lied about her injury in order to compete as an adaptive athlete.
You know, it's not us saying this. We have a very robust classification system. It's pretty intense on what these athletes had to go through to just get classified and qualified for these divisions.
I still think that story is a little sus, just because the one article I did read said specifically there is undercover surveillance video found of her using her arm while mucking out her horses, driving a manual transmission horse box, whatever that is, and chopping carrots up for feed. So if someone's got undercover surveillance of that, I would be taking that pretty seriously. Although Kevin does say there's not enough for them to make an objective decision now as far as if she will be allowed to compete or not compete this year. But if she goes to jail, I guess she's not competing. So there's also that possibility. Now, a lot of people are buzzing about all the beef in the media. There's been Taylor had some beef with Woolley, and then Taylor and Hiller had some beef in regards to a dumbbell snatch position. And Taylor points out, which I've noticed before, a lot of athletes look up when they're going to switch hands with the dumbbell. And it's usually because it's a 70-pound or a 100-pound dumbbell. They're looking up for whatever reason, maybe to make sure they don't drop it on their face in the middle of the CrossFit Games. And then just last night, Hiller puts out a video in regards to Taylor's show, the greatest show on the internet, Kill Taylor, and how he believes, based off of the data presented, that Season 2 format is not as good as a Season 1 format. I think some people are going to see it as, oh, he's just giving feedback as looking at the YouTube analytics. Some people, I think, are going to view it as it was a dig at Taylor, just taking shots at him. I mean, it is a comedy, like satire, jackass type show, but it also does bring in games athletes and a tremendous amount of money and sponsors into the space. It's got, I think he said, close to 1 million views. And a lot of people are wondering what's going on there. And then I had posted a reel of Sevan talking about the Mason video on one of his morning shows. And Hiller and him kind of had a little back and forth. He said something along the lines of, Sevan's just mad he hasn't created anything in 15 years. And then Sevan said, but is he incorrect? Which is something that I think Hiller says often. And then Hiller comes back and says, he has a great name. All his videos are same, but different. It's a hater video if it's about your boyfriend. 3-day games is a good point. One rep squat is a good point. The weekly check-ins are referred to in the video. This is where he deflects. Didn't want a conversation, wanted to challenge. Calling Mason's video shitty is an opinion. So you get a 50 out of 50 towards the, is he incorrect? And so likely that's why people are speculating, because the things were great when they just have these conversations on the phone instead of in comment sections. If me and somebody that I'm seemingly close with are disagreeing on something, we're likely going to take that off the comment sections and just have a phone call about it. So I get why people are speculating that there's something going on there. I guess the more media, the better, right? Keep pumping it out and we'll keep talking about it, whether good or bad. It's all providing conversation and content for the space. And there's always going to be people that think they're the arbiter or the know-it-all of what should be done and what should be said and not said, and you should do this and you should do that. But sometimes it's okay to just do whatever you want and not listen to anybody.
She say what she want, no filter, no flinch, dropping CrossFit T with a snatch and a twist.
That dense bitch